Hi there, in this screencast, I'm going to write the solution to the sum 28 coding pack problem, but instead of assuming that an array was the parameter, I'm assuming that an array of integers was the parameter. So here I'm going to go through all elements in the array list nums and check to see if I'm going to add up all the 2's and check to see if it's 8. So I can do this using either a for each loop or a for loop. So I'll first do the for loop and then I'll do the for each loop. All right, so I'm going to make a variable called sum and I'm going to set it equal to 0, and then I'll go through using a for each loop, or a for loop first. And I'm going to say for in I equals 0, I less than nums dot size, and then I plus plus, and I'm going to say if nums dot get I, and that's how you reference an element in a specific position of an array list, and then would be equals 2, and sum plus plus. And then finally, I'm going to say if sum equals 8, return true, otherwise I would return false. Okay, so that's how you would go through an array list using a for loop. If you wanted to do it as a for each loop, it would be pretty easy to do for this one because you're just inspecting each element of the array, not making the array list, not making any changes to them. So I could say for each integer element in nums, if element equals 2, sum plus plus, and then if sum is equal to 8, return true, otherwise return false. So that's how you would do sum 28, a basic loop that's going to go through and add up all the 2's, check to see if it's 8. If it's 8, return true, otherwise return false. All right, I'm going to do same ends, assuming that the parameter supplied is an array list and not an array. So in same ends, you're checking to see if basically the first few characters of the beginning of the array list are identical to the first few characters or the last few characters of the array list, where that number of characters is supplied by the parameter that's called len. So my strategy here is I'm going to make 2 new array lists that are kind of sub-array lists from the one that is supplied as the parameter, and then I'm going to run a comparison to see if each of the elements are the same for both array lists. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an array list called, what should I call it? I'll call it beginning. And I'm going to say equals new array list integer. All right, so when you instantiate an array list, that's how you create one. And I can see I misspelled integer right there. All right, so now I want to go through the original array list and add to the new one the first len characters in the original array list. So I'm going to make a for loop. It's going to go between 0 and len, and I'm going to say let's see, beginning dot add, and then it would be nums dot get I. Okay, so that just gets the values that are in the I position. It doesn't actually remove them. To actually remove them, you need to call the remove method. Okay, so then I'm going to do the same thing for the last few characters. All right, and I'm going to say, let's see, how do I get the last LEN characters in the array list? Well, let's see, I think I would say I equals LEN minus 4. I'm sorry, it would not be that. It would be, let's see, the size of my original array. So it's going to be nums.size minus length, and then I think minus 1. And it's going to be n.add, and it would be I less than nums dot size, and I plus plus, and then it would be n dot add, let's see, nums dot get I. Okay, so now I should have two arrays lists that contain the first LEN characters of the original one and the last LEN characters of the original one, and I'm going to do a comparison of them. So I'm going to say for an I equals 0, I less than, what would it be less than? Beginning, well, LEN, I plus plus, and I'm going to say if, let's see, it would be beginning dot get I is not equal to, and then that would be end dot get I and you return false. And then otherwise, if we make it to the end, I'm going to be returning true. All right, now I'm going to do without 10. And in without 10, you're supposed to remove all 10s from an array list that's provided, and then tack on zeros at the a 0 on the end every time you remove a 10. So I'm going to do this using a while loop, and I'm going to say in position equals 0, and I'm going to say while position is less than, and it would be nums dot size and I'm going to say if, and then it will be nums dot get I equals 10, then it would be nums dot remove nums dot get I, and then it would be nums.add 0, that adds a 0 to the end. All right, now if I remove the 10, the next number, everything automatically shifts upward, so I don't want to actually increment the value of position, because I want to look in the same position again for what was the element after it originally. So if I didn't find a 10, though, I am going to increment the position that I'm looking at by 1. So I'm going to say else position plus plus. And then lastly, I'm going to return the array list. So I'm going to say return nums. All right, and that should do it. It's actually, the code is a lot simpler than it would be if you were working with arrays, because you need a for loop that would adjust everything to the left. So, yeah, much easier. All right, hope that was helpful, and we will see you tomorrow. Keep in mind on the quiz you'll get to use the list of the array list portion of the quick reference guide. So the methods that were in the notes from the quick reference guide, you can be provided, or you'll get access to them while you're taking the quiz. All right, cheers.